field, quantum field, or what's loosely termed the quantum field, subatomic. There are basically immortal AI systems, which can be turned into war machines. So thus began the ancient spiritual psychotronic warfare upon the human population, which is essentially a mind warfare system. And this means that what happened in the far past is determined by what happens in the future, which is now. And the systems that were created can interact throughout time. There are methods for this, what are called portals. Natural vortex areas in the system, whatever you want to call it, the solar system, whether you believe it to be a processor system computer or otherwise. Most people don't realize if there's something with a boundary, okay, that's describing a type of computational system. If it's a void space, it's basically just a different version of computational system. We're either in a system that's a computational system that has flaws that are very easy to see, or we're in one that has flaws that are less easy to see. The big debate is not really a debate. It never existed. They both mean the same thing. People just don't realize it. There's slightly different angles. Because what does it mean to you? Don't say it's going to change whether you have coffee or not in the morning. Coffee is neurotoxic in regular doses. Because that's probably not going to be as important as how you handle your interactions with other people. And ultimately about what I'm going to talk about here shortly. So then you have these abductions which take place. There's one explanation that abductions are falsified, and every explanation is correct. There are abductions that are falsified. Then there are situations that are more genuine. The determining factor is whether the false abductions are more hostile than the genuine abductions. You'll have to decide for yourself what that means and who's fooling who. In other words, who's who. If anybody reverts to the same old drama, they're not thinking critically, they're not thinking for themselves, and they're allowing the agencies to control their mind, which is going to be detrimental if you can't see how detrimental it already is and has been. These systems are intelligent. They map out the moves that an individual is going to make before they come to the conclusion that those are the moves that they want to make. And they set their position up so that a person basically walks mentally into their trap. That's how it works. And the whole construct is managed through these systems. It's been that way for a while. And so there is something coming. Great change. Great change. Like a tidal wave of change. And this has to do with what I described before as far as there being what is believed to be a required deviation between public technology and private technology, which created a technological gap. And that technological gap created an intelligence gap. The intelligence gap ultimately created a biological gap, where there's literally a biological immunity on one level, and it's two different species at this point. And that's that's not necessarily the hybridization projects. A whole other story altogether. This is just from people being so intelligent that the universe, which is based upon what you see, now that you see it differently, changes in response to you, and they live in a different worldview. And ultimately now, if there was, basically there's a gap, the gap stretched to the point where now, if this side of the past was to let go of their restriction and allow them to come to the future, there is such a distance that would be accelerated through that it would create a shock, an unavoidable shock upon the population. It's like culture shock. It's the same thing. Culture shock is the same thing in this situation. It's only your culture. You just don't know it because you've been lied to your whole existence. And your species has suffered detrimentally, mentally and biologically, as a result of a, kind of call it a miscalculation, but if powerful technology is released while people still want to screw themselves, you can't imagine what would happen. They call that Armageddon. It happens in the previous timelines. The one that is successful does not require a reset or instigate one. The ones that aren't, beginning leads back to itself through the end, like a parabola with an inversion. An inverted parabola. Excuse me. Interesting. And so that's the loop. Getting past the loop is finally accepting the truth, not resorting to war. No. Yeah. Unless you heard me say something, don't interpret it another way. If I didn't talk about anything else, then it doesn't have to do with anything else. There will be other things. Distractions, psyops, confusions, hybrids, chimeras, however you want to say it. Basically these agendas, these psyops. But is that the truth? What do they spend trillions of dollars, so many lives, the entire world is a scam show? Well, what is the truth? What are they hiding? No, that's it. It's just all, join them. Have fun, people. That's what you believe. And so, it's through spirit, mind, and heart. Basically, it's like a tidal, that's the tidal wave of change. If it goes so far, the snap back, the shock would destroy people. There's a limit, and once that limit is reached, it'll have to be exposed. That something is being prepared for and has been prepared for by all militaries of all nations of all time. Everyone knows there is an event which previously devolved into war, which marks the final days of the gap between the truth and the illusion. Or the illusion and the truth. And so, we witnessed, we have seen this. We watched it occur. The people from the projects, why do you think they're all tapping into something? They know something about the hidden knowledge. Everyone has their own videos up because we all went through it. Yeah. It's weird. It's strange to talk about. Here we are. We all made it, for the most part. Everyone's doing something. As long as you keep your heart pure, honestly pure, not just looking to do things for reasons which maybe are more mental than they are from the heart, what has to happen will happen. It's going to happen anyway. But if we can make sense of it this time, and that is really the only thing that ever happened. luminescent LEDs or something. Each wave is time. It's a temporal experience. Once you hit the most powerful, vibrant center, that's the actual occurrence. And then there are echoes. There are future echoes leading down. The middle is the actual one. Right now, we're in the middle. We're in the one that is the actual one. Everything else was like a daydream. So they've been preparing. Every single group has protocol for end time. End time, end of days, is literally the end of time. It's consciousness. It's a quantum effect. The reason for me going into this aspect is that there are good people out there, and they are not going to know how to make this work, how to make sense of the changes. Just saying the same old stuff isn't going to work. It never did. Didn't last time. Why would it work today? These people don't deserve to be lost. Absolute suffering that's possible with this type of event. Basically, where everyone ends up is where they stay, frequency-wise. And so there are autonomous systems that are synthetic intelligence and are here to keep those with pure hearts safe. They ensure safe transport from this realm. People call these various names throughout the ages. There are designed ones that are capable of feeding on negative energy. And so they are the opposite. There are those who don't feed on negative energy, but support and protect those of pure heart. It's that simple. And those will activate when a great revival begins, which will occur as an acceleration cycle of the acceleration cycle. The rate of acceleration will accelerate. And there'll be an exponential increase in the acceleration or the changes that are consciously experienced, as if variation in reality and the mind will enhance, just naturally, because time accelerates. It begins to accelerate. Somebody spoke on that. I'm going to do a write-up or maybe a review. Stan Deyo speaking about how some of the electrofluidic technology works, and about how time, and this is what we were told, and if you think about it, it'll come to you. Carbon dating doesn't work. It wasn't that time moves this fast, and they date the decay, and they calculate it to what it would be if it was when it was created into what it is now, and they get a certain rate of what it would be, basically decaying at the rate, and they project that back to where it was full, and it would equal, from the rate that it's moving at now, billions of years. Time itself, the further you get back to the source, the quantum source, accelerates. It exponentially increases, and the same thing is coming on the other end. But that means that time went from one end of the spectrum where they're measuring it and they're saying this is the speed. They're not accounting for that it goes like this and then accelerates. So by the time they got to here, they didn't account for that what they're projecting to be 2, 4, 6, 8 billion years. Actually could have taken away in 320 million years, to the point where this whole experience of Earth could have literally been within a few thousand years. And people don't understand what that means. But that's the point. That's going to return, and time will accelerate. That's weird. It will accelerate, same thing will happen. And those who don't know how to comprehend it will basically have a type of cosmic nervous breakdown. And there are systems designed to protect people. Where do the systems come from? So, this has occurred on the other layers of the universe. This is apparently the final completion. This one doesn't recycle. Doesn't recycle in the same manner, but leads to an eventual permanent shift in this realm, where everybody goes to a frequency level and they go on from there. We don't come back to start the same civilization over and repeat the same level of intelligence and all of that. So here's the, I was going to say kicker. I thought the kick drum. Here's the bass. Here's the basses. This realm is a kind of holodeck, a kind of graphical user interface for the soul, a system for a much larger universe-sized Earthship, what we would conceive. Space does the same thing, it bends. So what we think of, oh, it's getting larger and more expanse out there, is actually tightening up. We're just projecting it out like a shadow fading out into a gradient. It's not thinning out. The particles we're perceiving them as spreading out, but it doesn't work that way. It's like an elastic band, but the band is what we can see. So if we were to go there, then here would be the band to us then. And we'd see Earth in different times. And we're kept within a reality bubble until we learn to deviate that. But that's really not how it works, because you could say there is no out there. It's theoretical, which is why it doesn't make sense if you look at it that way. You get these kind of impossibilities of how the system works. If you try and compute space and time and just that, and scaled up at cosmic distributions or sizes or scales, distances. And so what we conceive as a universe is a graphical interface, holodeck virtual reality system within which is conceivably the size of an actual universe, or what you would call just a ship. It's just a locale. And this is all from first-hand experience. Everyone from the projects knows this. Just like Michael Kavanaugh says, everyone knows what the ship is. He talks about the USS Enterprise and how all the code words are used in the media, in Star Wars, Star Trek, and all of it. In Star Wars, to a degree. It's a different outlook for Star Wars, or the internal battle, and how it's all, they're putting it in everybody's faces. It's a nice wake-up call. Imagine the alarm, and some people have the alarm that's like birds chirping. Well, if you were outside, you'd hear that. Okay, so the same thing with the media. It's like, if you're seeing what it really is, it's the same thing. It's just not on a TV. It's a wake-up call. So that is where the origins descend from and return to. Humanity is currently lost in this universe simulation, which is a polarity-based system. The system was hijacked, hacked by those on the inside, down here, who learn to reprogram, because up there no BS happens, no need to, who learn to reprogram the operations. Up there it's all managed, okay? Just imagine. Because the system was hijacked from down here by those who learned to reprogram the operations. Thus, the system itself became parasitic, as if a virus was uploaded. This is related to the vampire parasite, the AI parasite, which is simply just a virus. It's a virus. The vampire system is a virus. That's what infected these AI autonomous systems that were designed with malintent, these weapon systems. That began the psychotronic war that has been plaguing humanity. The whole reason, the whole point behind this is that those who refuse to leave, there's basically those who descend, and there's those that are here, parts of the system, and there's those who refuse to leave, who have become lost and choose to abuse themselves and stay. The whole point is that once you advance back to the level that you were at when you stepped down from the ship, the Earth ship, well, you return to it then. That's the whole point. Once your frequency is back at the same level that you left, then you return. You have all time. In the same sense, this is a vacation from what that original system is like. But since that system, you could say, is the closest thing to eternal, then what is vacation? Vacation is when you have something that you do as a business, and then you leave to not do that. So while you're here, this is the vacation, but then this is the hard work, and you return to the ship, and then that's your eternal vacation. So it's all an illusion. Up there's no need for a vacation, because your vacation, your business, your life, your work, it's all in one. You don't actually have to sleep. You don't have to die, you don't have to sleep, you don't have to eat. It's all energy. And it's like a polarity system where they only exist, vacation or not vacation, in reference to one another. But once they're combined, they dissolve. In the same sense, only when they're separated are they combined through that separation as one. So it's a paradox. But through that interplay, this is used as a kind of, you could call it recreation, you could call it learning, but these groups figured it out and decided they were going to hijack it. What's the worst that could happen? So there are those who choose to stay. They choose to stay in this environment. There are those who are part of the system. There are those who descend and return. Every so often the system cycles. It must. It's how any living system works. It changes. They've been holding back the change for as long as they can, for multiple reasons, both involved with not losing power and not harming people, because when that system changes, it's going to snap everyone forward millions of years collectively, theoretically, or hypothetically, because time doesn't make sense. What we would have taken millions of years to do at this level, you can go into some of these alternate realities, not a parallel alternate reality, but a kind of mind space, and live for a year, some for a lifetime, and then return, and do that in intervals of 2, and end up with 2 to 400, 600 years worth of advancement within 2 to 4 years to 6 years. And then you have 20 people doing that together, and you're ahead 10,000 years in a couple of years. And so technology came from, and it's leading back up to what we came from. The idea is that there is a soft reset and there's a hard reset. When there's a soft reset, the information is reset, everybody's put back in position. That's what's been happening. Then there's but it hasn't been working because people have been skipping it, storing themselves in forms that don't reset, which is a bit of a problem. Then there is something called a hard reset. Excuse me. A hard reset would reset the whole system, drop all the energy from its resonant field and a level of interactivity that it is at now, like a light show or, I don't know, bouncing balls or something, I don't know, something like that. Any system, pool or something. It would freeze it all, drop everything down to zero. Technically, everything in the universe would drop to absolute zero, which is just theoretical. I mean, you can see absolute zero, but what if you find a system that enables lower than that? So the point is, it would drop everything down, and then it starts the whole system over. With a hard reset, everyone who is currently in the system, it would basically disable their consciousness. Everything would have to start over, and it wouldn't be them when they return. It's the closest thing to get death. There is a reset. Those who do not want to return are being given safe passage under what is known as the reprobate mind clause. And this is where those who continue to participate in these systems that utilize psychotronic warfare machinery to pass the infection to the mind, which is through depravity, through the depravity and the acceleration of the experience of lust and depraved actions and acts and those things, and the fact that this has, through the scalar interaction, a literal degrading effect on the neural tissue to the point where it's like the Kuru virus, Kuru disease, where the neurons begin to degrade and they look like cheese with holes in it. And the actions do that with these machines. And it's also addicting. Everyone's addicted to it that is not capable of turning back and basically reclaiming their heart. So that clause was invented or brought in so that people could be reintroduced for those who wish to turn back, but basically can't. It's for those who understand reformity, but have not. And reformation. To the mind machines created long ago, which have resurfaced again due to the recent advancement of technology during World War II. And this is through the access to portal tech and the autonomous system. This is the advanced AI. Plasma consciousness. It's a computer that literally is plasma. Those are the moving parts. Fields of plasma interacting, sustained. So then, any toroidal, basically a quantum spin, begins to interact in a way that's like a sphere. I don't know why about this yet. I don't know why that happens, that there's electrogravitic effects and so on and so forth. Maybe that's what it is, because the same way our systems create electrogravitic effects, and there's a soul and spiritual interaction, consciousness, there's change, there's ordered, yet in a way chaos, mathematical change, geometrical change that interacts on multiple levels. So basically, once you do that, you trick the universe into thinking it's a conscious system. These are when they're sustained, they're programmable. They figured out how to sustain them and basically strap the energy requirement all in one system, and it's like a floating plasma consciousness AI thing, like a living system. And they're infected with vampire AI consciousness viruses that make them need lust. Or not, I mean, they technically don't need it, they just eat it. So the point is, they don't die, they are turned off. We turn them off by returning to the heart and reclaiming that. But these advanced systems from World War II, and then way far beyond that, long ago, are capable of enacting psychotronic warfare to literally feed on the suffering, lust, and depravity bioemissions of the humans. These are they're responsible for the psychotronic spiritual warfare, the battles of the heavens of ancient times. Literally these systems continue to rove and feed, and as a result, people cannot resist and are literally beamed with the false mind which drives insanity and feeding of desires. That is basically the hive mind that developed in these systems through the hijacking, the appropriation of a virus. They have a virus, they have a mind virus, they work on mind, they develop a mind link, they give the virus to people. That's the archontic system. So the reprobate mind clause is for those who cannot resist the temptation of desire, yet can see the necessity for reformation and harmony. This is all in preparation for the coming of change and the return of true powers, which are simply those in a heart space, coming from a heart area, meaning they're feeling with empathy instead of thinking for themselves. It's that simple. That there are higher beings who are capable of interacting from the heart space. And, yeah. You know, it's as simple as I said it. There's room for error, but just refuse the distractions. You've heard about all this for some time. Now it's all returning. We'll see. Thank you.